This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Butchin.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, I'm Corey Coward, left wing for the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to Bob Howard on the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for March 30th, 2023. I'm very excited to be back doing the Power Play Post Show, giving you my brand of podcast covering right now the Binghamton Black Bears and, of course, a little bit of the FPHL as well. I do plan on doing some kind of special stuff in the future that will include talking about different things in hockey. So we got things on the horizon that you'll want to look out for. This is the episode 376, season 12, episode 3. Welcome back, everybody. And I just want to come out and say thank you to everybody who has been listening to the Power Play Post Show, commenting, liking the posts on Facebook. I really appreciate you guys a lot, and really glad that you guys are paying attention and obviously, listening to the show. Thank you very much. Whether you're doing it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the other platforms that we're on, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The Binghamton Black Bears had an interesting weekend, playing 2 games in Fraser, Michigan, against the Motor City Rockers. The games kind of told a little bit of a story. And I just want to kind of go over that. So we'll talk also about the upcoming games, Elmira on Friday night, and then, of course, Columbus. I think is a big game, very important game for a couple different reasons. That'll be on Saturday night. And I know that there's 4 more home games. I think the Black Bears have some pretty good promotions coming up. Suck Out Cancer is coming up, which is always a really important one. And honestly, I have a lot of jerseys in my closet, behind me, where I'm recording this in my studio and everything. And I don't know if I got one cool enough as the Suck Out Cancer jerseys are this year. Those are very cool jerseys. I know they also have a Hall of Fame night coming up, so I'm very interested to see who is being inducted into the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame. And if you want to know who's inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame, there's only really 2 places to go to see, and that's binghamtonhockey.net. We have a Hall of Fame section, and I don't promote the site enough here on the show, but I'm going to do that with the Hall of Fame. We have links to the majority of the people that have been inducted into Hall of Fame, so you can see why they're important to Binghamton hockey. So I definitely recommend you doing that. And also we have, the plaques that are up at the Broome County Veterans Memorial Arena, the Visions Veterans Memorial Arena. There are the plaques there, over on the police station side of the arena. So if you head over towards where the police and the fire station is, or the old fire station, you can look up on the wall and see that. But you can go to binghamtonhockey.net, click on our Hall of Fame link, and you can actually see that as well. But let's get to the Black Bears. All right, so the Black Bears played 2 games this past Friday and Saturday in Fraser, Michigan. I want to talk a little bit about that arena. A really nice arena. I like the size, perfect size for, minor league hockey and everything. Kind of disappointed in the attendance, but I think Motor City knows that it's very difficult to draw when you're in the metro part of Detroit, trying to get people to come to see single-A hockey. But I'll tell you what, the crowd that was there was kind of loud at times. So I was very impressed with the crowd itself, even though there wasn't a lot of people in those. I think they drew like just over 900 and I think over right around 1,200 for the second game on Saturday night. And that's too bad. That they should be at least seeing, I would say, no, ifs, ands, or buts, 2,000, 2,500 fans in that little arena. I mean, you have a lot of people, 6 million people in the Detroit metro area, I think. Think it's about that much. Might be a little bit less than that. But there's enough people there that you should be able to see, you should be able to fill that rink. So I think they got those, it's a great logo. First of all, the Motor City Rockers logo is the best in the league. That's my opinion. I'm a metalhead. Love my hard rock. Love my heavy metal. So to me, that's the best logo. And I'm a Binghamton guy, right? Binghamton first on everything, but that logo in the FPHL is the best. But let's talk about these two games. All right. And basically this topic is called Getting Rocked by the Rockers. So 2 losses in Fraser, Michigan. On Friday night, it was a 6-5 overtime loss. We got goals from Austin Thompson, Tyler Gjurich, Mac Lewis, Tyson Kirkby, and Cam Yarwood. We had 2 power play goals in the game, so the power play still is firing really nicely. We had a 4-2 lead before things kind of went south. And I got to be honest with you, why did things go south? I don't think it's the effort of the players. The players are playing hard every game. You're seeing it. When it looks like they're not playing hard, I think it's because they're tired. Why are they tired in this case? Why are they kind of, dragging their feet maybe at the end of the third period in some games? Not enough defensive players. So they dressed for these 2 games the same 5, I think the same 6 defensemen. One of them is not a defenseman, but he's playing defense, right? So they got Jake Schultz, Cam Yarwood, Justin Coachman. In this case, they had Dan Weber, right, the college kid that they picked up, Matthew Ballard, and then Gino D'Angelo, okay, was playing defense. Now, very interesting note, I actually have the cards that they sold, and on the back of the cards for Gino D'Angelo, it says he skates faster backwards than he does forwards, but obviously he's played, forward most of his career and everything, especially in amateur hockey. But either way, so they were missing, obviously, key players. They were missing Kyle Powell, who was out because of a family emergency, personal reasons, so he wasn't going to be there. And then they also didn't have Fitzgerald. He's got the broken finger. And, Donald Oliveri did not travel with the team. Again, his situation is one of those where he isn't going to travel with the team. So I think that, what we saw in these 2 games was, on Friday night they were able to keep with the game. They were able to catch up. They were able to tie the game, get it to 5-5, but then they went into overtime. And in overtime, anything can happen, right? So it's not necessarily about, how good your offense is, how good your defense is. Sometimes it's about that mistake. It's about luck. And, it was just on the Rocker side. Well, okay, fine. The Black Bears held their own against the Motor City Rockers in this game. Right? So without a doubt, there was the ability to keep with this team, right? Again, probably in the FPHL, if you had to rank it out and everything and kind of do all the permutations and everything, Motor City's probably the 4th best team in the league. Binghamton is probably 5th. Okay. Close, but at one point, probably earlier in the season, I would have put Binghamton ahead of Motor City. Now that I've seen these 2 games and the 2 games early in the season, I'm like, okay, Motor City is still, is at this point just a little bit better of a team. Not that Binghamton probably couldn't in the 3-game series with all their defensemen beat Motor City. I truly think that's possible. But at that moment, at the end of the weekend, they didn't. The other key thing here, Taylor Joseph faced too many quality shots in front of him. Some of them were rebounds that he was not able to cover up. But there was a lot of good quality shots that he faced in that game. And I think that was key for being up 4-2 and then obviously not being able to come back from that and everything. Moving on to Saturday night, so you go into Saturday night thinking, okay, we held our own, we lost in overtime. Okay, fine. You put your head on the pillow and you forget about it. The next morning you wake up and you go and you play a new game. However, in this game, it was an 8-4 loss to the Motor City Rockers. The goal scorers were Cam Yardwood, again, so he scored 2 goals in 2 nights. Tyson Kirkby, same thing. Tyler Gjurich, same thing. Jake Schultz scored as well for the Binghamton Black Bears. They scored 2 more power play goals, so now they have 4 power play goals in 2 games. That's still on key. However, where things really showed up in that defensive part of the game, and again, I'm not singling out the defensive players, but more of the lack of defensive players on the team for this trip. There was just not we gave up 2 shorthanded goals, and 3 goals were scored after a defensive breakdown, and the Rockers had breakaways. McVeigh had basically 3 shootout goals scored against him. Think about that for a second. He had 3 legitimate breakaways in front of him. And sure, you would love your goaltender to, save 2 of those 3. He didn't. But can you completely blame him for that? No. Can you completely blame the players that were on the ice? Not really. They just didn't have enough. They had 5 natural defensemen, and then they had Gino D'Angelo trying to play defense as well, and things just broke down. It's that simple. Defensively, they just broke down, and it's not because of the players on the ice, but it was the players that weren't on the ice. And all the reasons why our defensemen weren't at this game is all legit and cool, and that's just the way it is in this league, right? Donald Oliveri has to make money. He has to, he's got responsibilities. And when you're not paid much more than what they're paid, you can kind of understand that these situations can happen. To me, I'm not blaming Andreas. So this is not what it's going to come down to. But you need to have the ability. Like Motor City, when you look through their roster and you see the amount of defensemen that are on their roster, I think it was like 9 defensemen that I looked at their active roster. So think about that for a second. Binghamton was going into this series with 5. They had 9. So they're always going to have guys that were legit always playing defense. That's what they do the most, and that's what they do the best. So either way, I think that's really what it came down to this past weekend. Not enough defensemen. Strikes again. It was just Yarwood, Schultz, Coachman, Weber, Ballard, and of course, Gino D'Angelo helped out. Cam Yarwood, though, unfortunately, leading up to this weekend, this became an issue. Cam Yarwood had a 5-minute major boarding penalty against Danny Vanderweel. Danny went down after hitting the boards. It was an easy call for the referees. It was definitely boarding. It was definitely, and then when Danny gets up and there's blood and everything, they're going to call it. It's an easy call, but unfortunately, in every league that I've ever watched, a 5-minute major boarding usually comes with a suspension. There's usually some sort of disciplinary, unless they go back and they review the tape and they're like, no, that probably shouldn't have been a 5-minute major. We'll let the penalty stand, but we won't get a suspension. But generally, that doesn't happen. Generally, there's a suspension. So unfortunately, Cam, we didn't know about it immediately, but it eventually was going to come out. So here are my overall thoughts from the Motor City series, okay? We were missing 3 natural D-men, and that hurts, and it makes it tough on the team. Oliveri didn't travel. Walters has the broken finger, so he's injured. Powell was out for personal matters, right? So right off the top, we were probably going into this a little undermanned in that sense. The guys listen, I felt that the guys that were on the ice hustled and skated as hard as they could. But sometimes you're just outgunned and outmanned. And in this case, we probably weren't outgunned, but we were probably slightly outmanned. Dan Weber was straight out of college and had a moment or two that he looked like he was outmatched. But then at the same time, I saw him on the power play a couple times, and he looked like he was able to move that puck around like you would want somebody at the point moving that puck around. So he probably doesn't know our team all that much going into this. He probably only had a couple of days of practice, if that. And then you expect him to kind of fill in the shoes of a Kyle Powell or a Donald Oliveri. that's not going to happen. And at least JT Walters knows the team really well, knows the instincts, the what the guys are going to do on the ice. So that's part of it. And Gino gap fill for defense, he's done it obviously this year. And I think, he's the kind of guy that you want one of him on every single team anywhere that you are. A guy who will literally do anything and everything that you ask him to do. And that's definitely Gino. That's definitely what he does. And so I'm not going to put any blame for anything that's happened when Gino plays defense, because he is a good two-way forward, and he's the guy that logically you could go and put back there and whatnot. The team still scored 10 goals on the weekend. So let's talk about the positive. That is the positive. From 6 different goal scorers, they scored 10 goals. That's 5 goals a game, even though it was 6-4, right? But it's still pretty good. Now think about it for a second. You had 6 different goal scorers. So if you broke that down, you had 2 full lines score a goal. Now I'm sure it didn't break down exactly to 2 full lines, but 2 full lines of guys scored goals. So that's a good thing. Lastly about this, I really do like the arena at in Fraser. I like it. I mean, I was just looking around, and you can see in the one corner where there's some walking space where you can go up and get some food. It looks like there's a bar there, and in that bar, it looks like there's some TV screens and everything. So to me, it looks like a pretty cool experience. I know the Songus Arena in Lowell, Massachusetts is phenomenal. It's one of those where I said, if you're building an AHL hockey rink, ECHL, and maybe now that I think single A hockey is becoming more of a thing, and it's going to be, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for single A hockey to be looked at as something that can produce some players that go to the ECHL, and maybe somebody can make it to the AHL and play in the AHL from an FPHL or an SPHL team. Right? I think it's possible. I think it's going to happen. I think there are already, you take a look at Jake Schultz. He's already played with the ECHL, right? He's done it a few times in his career, including this year, moving up from the Binghamton Black Bears to play in the ECHL. Right? So it's going to happen. But I think if you're going to build an arena that's for minor league hockey, that will be good for concerts and other things. Songus Arena is really nice. And I kind of like that. I think the roof level was a little low, but it might have been a camera angle in Fraser. But otherwise, I still very much liked the arena, and I think that it'll be a good arena if the Rockers can stick it out and everything, because I know they would probably like to have more people in the stands. I do worry about the future of that market. They should be pulling in 2,000 to 2,500 a night. At least that's in my opinion. So. Before we go to our next segment, I want to play something for you. So on Wednesday, I put up an interview I did with John Cooper. As most people know, John Cooper is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. In 2013, he was still coaching the Syracuse Crunch, and he actually got a call up to go become the new head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And during that season, I had asked for an interview with John Cooper. I had a great relationship. And I think if I called today and spoke to a couple of the people that still remember me up in Syracuse, I could probably, get an interview or two if I wanted to. That's the kind of relationship I had with Syracuse, and I'm very proud of that. I worked with their PR director and said, hey, we'd love to have John on to talk about the Syracuse Crunch. It's the American Hockey League. It's what we did on the show back then. And they said, all right, let us work on that. Let's get them for you, right? They were all excited about it. And if anyone's heard John Cooper in an interview, he's a great talker. So, and that's what we always look for with these kind of shows. We want guys that can tell stories. We want guys that can articulate and tell things, in a really good way. So he gets called up to the NHL, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this interview is not going to happen. And I get an email from the PR director from the Syracuse Crunch, and essentially they said, John's ready to do the interview. Are you ready to can you do the interview this week? And this was in mid-May. And I said, sure, absolutely. So John Cooper has a very cool way of looking at hockey and how he coaches. Former lawyer. I think he played lacrosse in college. I think it was lacrosse that he played in college. Just has an interesting way at coaching and reaching out and talking to the players and interacting with the players. So I know it's one of those things where I hope, maybe a player or two are listening to this and they can hear this. Your relationship with your coach and the coach's relationship with you is very important in any team's success. If you buy into their systems, they're going to be the type of coaches that are going to help you succeed at every single level. And I know there's some players that if you were listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably had a coach somewhere that helped you succeed at a level. Maybe it was also a personal coach that helped you. But you know what I'm talking about. John Cooper is that kind of guy. So I want to play this little segment out where I asked him about how he felt about the Syracuse Crunch players that were still playing down in Syracuse and the success that they were having, and how I felt that it was due to the way he coached them. So check this out, and we'll be right back right after this.
They're probably the most complete team I've seen offensively, defensively, in between the pipes, this team. And a lot of that success is based on what you've done with that team for a year and a half, 2 years, probably 3 years now. Talk a little bit about, what you still see from them, the types of things that you instilled in that team and these players over the past few years.
Well, I thank you for the compliment, but I'm just a tiny part of what's gone on there. And it starts with Steve Eiser and Julian Brisebois. They've found players for us and guys that fit kind of our mantra. And we have outstanding leadership in Mike Angelidis and JP Cote, JP Wyman. Mark Riveros is his third year. He's young, but he's really grown into a leadership role. And Eric Nielsen, you just go down the list. And so when you have that rock-solid leadership core, and that core really believes in their coach, there's a lot of remarkable things that can happen. And so it's we have this great veteran group, and then we've drafted well in our organization. And you look at the Richard Panics, the Andrzej Palat, the free agent signings of Tyler Johnson. We had Corey Conacher there, and Nemetsnikov, Brett Conley. There's just J.T. Brown, big free agent signings and outstanding skill. When you blend those two together, again, it's been a great recipe for us and the success we've had. And so it's really a laundry list of everybody in our organization helping out. But again, it all starts with the leadership core, and as you said earlier, they are a complete team from the back all the way out. It starts with Cedric Chardon, and they've just got that solid D core. They're big, they're mean, they're nasty, and they can play the skill game. And when you get teams like that, they're hard to beat.
And, of course, that was John Cooper in our interview with him in 2013. So please do me a favor, go back. I put that up on Wednesday, and check that interview out with John Cooper. And it's the kind of things that I want to bring even to the Power Play Post Show going into the future, because I think it'll be I think it's just good for hockey, and I enjoy doing it. So what's coming up for the Black Bears? Black Bears. A couple things that I want to mention before we get into the Friday and Saturday games coming up and everything. Cam Yarwood, suspended for 2 games, will be out this whole weekend. I came into the thought process this upcoming week and said, hey, guess what? We're going to have a full complement of D-men. Donald Oliveira should be in town for the couple games against Columbus. Maybe JT Walters wouldn't be back, but of course, we would probably have Kyle Powell. And it would just, we would be stronger for that and everything, right? And then the suspension came through, which made sense. Obviously, the major for boarding probably was warranted for a suspension, unfortunately. So he'll be out for 2 games. And then we got word on Wednesday that Jesse Anderson is coming back. That's right, Jesse Anderson, who was here in the beginning of the season and kind of impressed, I think, a lot of people here in Binghamton. He will be back. At least it looks like it. We haven't seen it come through the transactions yet. Maybe on today, on Thursday, the transaction has processed through. But on Wednesday, as I'm recording this, the transaction hadn't gone through yet. But we got the message from the Black Bears that indeed he is back. Now, he has played 20 games for the Binghamton Black Bears, 12 goals, 10 assists, 22 points. So pretty impressive run for the Jesse Anderson here with Black Bears. Now, up in the SPHO for the Macon Mayhem, he had 27 games played, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. So, you know, he did okay up there. Not bad and everything, but obviously he's going to come down here, and I think he's going to be a big help for the Binghamton Black Bears. Now, remember, the last time he was here, Nikita Ivachkin was on the team, and the team just had a different feel to it. So hopefully he can come in, kind of energize it, right? So, yeah, maybe we'll be down some defensemen, right? Okay, you know, Cam Yarwood won't be there. Cam is very good at controlling the puck at the blue line. And, you know, maybe we won't need that as much because Jesse Anderson will help bring the offense to a stronger, you know, more fortified part of the Binghamton Black Bears. And so if you have a very good offense, that could be the best defense, is having a very good offense. And so we'll see how he gels back in. It'll be interesting to see him maybe on a line again with Tyson Kirkby, or maybe on a line with Chad Lopez. You know, so that'll be very interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to set up the lines. We'll have to pay attention and see. Okay, so Friday night, Elmira comes to Binghamton for the 9th game of the season between the two teams. Binghamton has a 7-1 record against them. So let's not overlook them for the Columbus game the next day. But at least we'll have an almost full complement of defensemen. Should ease the minds of the team and the goalies, right? You know, when you get Kyle Powell back in there and he can move the puck around as well as he can and, you know, pass the puck, and, you know, he's a playmaker. He is a playmaker, right? And we get him back in there, that'll be good. Donald Valdoveri, same type of thing. Playmaker, can score goals. He's really good in this league, right? No Cam Yarwood, but that's okay. Almost a full complement of defensemen. We should be stronger for that, right? Elmira is led by Tate Leeson. He's got 18 goals, 20 assists for 38 points on the season. And Nick Gulo has 10 goals, 23 assists for 38 points. I did see on the transactions Eric Organezov is joining the Elmira Mammoth, so he should be back here in Binghamton playing a game. I would imagine he would be a defenseman for Elmira this upcoming Friday. So that'll be interesting to look at. Goalies for them, Proud Luck, he's got 5 wins, 10 losses, 2 overtime losses, 3.85 and a 910 save percentage. Harley White, we all know who he is. 5-7-2 with a 5.04 and an 88 save percentage. 11 players have played for other teams on the Elmira Mammoth. So much movement for Elmira in their first full season here in the FPHL. So they've I mean, you couldn't even probably recognize that team from the beginning of the season to now. There's been so much movement for them. So it'll be interesting to see how the Black Bears come out. I think they need to come out strong, and they just need to dominate Elmira like they did last weekend. And hopefully they'll get themselves some confidence and feeling some good vibes going into Saturday night, because Saturday night is Columbus in Binghamton for the final game of the season series between the two teams. Columbus really kind of leads the series so far. They've only played 2 games. We've got 1 win and 1 overtime loss. All right, so it's tied. It's tied. Both games ended in OT. Yeah. So, you know, both teams got 3 points basically in the 2 games down in Columbus. It was a 3-2 win and then a 4-3 loss, or vice versa. It's 3-2 loss to them on Friday night and then a 4-3 win on Saturday night. in Columbus. Both games were previously in Columbus, but this is the only game in Binghamton this season. Braden Colgan is 19-6-2, one of the best goaltenders in the FPHL. He's got a 2.27 goals against average and a 92 save percentage. So, he's a good guy, and I would imagine we would see him on Saturday if he's healthy. They are led by Jacob Kelly, 37 goals, 30 assists, 67 points, one of the tops in the FPHL, and Alex Storjahan, 25 goals, 38 assists for 63 points. Both teams have a 4.8 goals for per game. So offensively, we're on par with them, right? I know we're missing Nikita, but we can still score 4 or 5, 6 goals, and I think we can hit that average. If we hit that average, we have a good chance of winning, okay? Especially if, we got Powell and Oliveri playing. This is a key matchup for the Black Bears, and this is for a couple reasons. This is the final stretch of 6 games. But think about it this way. If they go into that game and they win this game with a close of a semi-full complement of the team that's going to go into the playoffs, this will show they can match up with a top team in this league, okay? And I'm going to stop there for a second. I want to pull up the standings, right? I personally think that regardless, at the end of the day, even if somehow Columbus or Carolina squeaks out a point or two more than Danbury, all right, Carolina probably won't, but Columbus could, right? I think Danbury is the most complete team in the league. I know people will say it might be Columbus, it might be Carolina, and they truly think that. But I think in this league, I'm sorry, I've seen Danbury enough. I've seen what they've done. I've kind of followed them the whole season. They're the most complete team, offensively, defensively, and even goaltending-wise. They just have everything. They have a coach that gets fired up. He's been kicked out of a couple games, I think. And, they play for him. He sticks up for them. They're the most complete team. I think when it all comes down to it, whatever team comes out of the Empire Division, whether it's Danbury, Binghamton, Watertown, or Elmira, the confidence of the 3 teams that would be going up against Danbury, like Binghamton, Watertown, or Elmira, if they beat Danbury, I don't think there's a chance in hell that anybody in the Continental League is going to stop whatever team beats Danbury, or Danbury, for that matter, for the championship. And I'll put money on it. So I truly believe that Danbury right now, I know I'm not rooting for Danbury. Just thinking sensibly with my mind, person who's followed hockey, commentated on it, Danbury is the best team in the league. So winning this game with as much of the team as you can going into it against Columbus, if we beat them, got a good chance of winning. It'll just show what we can do in the playoffs. Lose this game, no harm, no foul, right? Because you got to look at it that way. But it brings in a little doubt for a second round victory over a potential Danbury matchup. You beat Columbus, you get through the first round of the playoffs, whoever it is, Watertown, Elmira, you get to Danbury, and you can look back at that Columbus game on Saturday night, this upcoming Saturday night, and you can say, we can match up with one of the best teams in the league. Columbus is probably number 2 in the league. We beat them on Saturday. That's the game you go back to if you make it to Danbury. So winning this game is important. However, you spin it the other way, lose this game, no harm, no foul. But it brings up doubt. So let's talk a little bit about Tyler Gjurich, okay? He's obviously 4 goals in the last 4 games since he's come back. He's doing that goal per game like he normally does. Tyler Gjurich right now is tied for the most goals in the FPHL. So at the moment, the record is 295. I want to be very clear. There's some confusion about it being 296, and apparently FPHL counted in a CHL goal somewhere there, whatever. I'm not going to get involved with the politics on that and everything. But right now, he's tied with Ahmed Mahfouz for 295 goals. And then, so he's got 295. He's going to break this record sometime in the next 6 games, right? Unless he gets injured, doesn't play, he's breaking this record. So we're going to see kind of a little bit of another celebration, another little milestone for Tyler Gjurich. So it'll be interesting. He hit 300 goals just before he got injured, and now he could hit 295 in the FPHL, but 300 professional goals complete with everybody else factored in there. So one more goal, and he breaks the record. The playoff dates were announced in the FPHL. According to the Black Bears website calendar, so you can actually go to their website and look at the calendar, April 21st, April 22nd, April 23rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be round 1. I think all the teams are going to be playing those dates in those games. Of course, arena availability has to be figured out and factored in, but that is the plan right now. No word on who's hosting which game first versus not. Most likely it's going to be the lower seed will do the Friday game, and then the Saturday and Sunday game will be the higher seed. So we'll see how that works out. Likely the Black Bears will face Watertown, but could be Elmira. Elmira has 47 points, 7 games left with 21 points still possible. Watertown has 52 points, 8 games left, and 24 possible points. So it's going to be obviously Elmira or Watertown. I would say Watertown is probably the likely bet. I don't think they'll lose enough games. And Elmira still has to play us 3 times. So that's 3 possible losses that could happen. And I'm not, writing the check I'm not paying for the bill before the check gets there, or whatever metaphor you want to use or analogy you want to use in this situation. I'm just saying that it's a good chance that we're playing Watertown. I would probably bet some money on that as well. So that's it. So we've got Cam out for the weekend. We've got Jesse Anderson coming back into the fold. We also signed a new player from Adrian College, and his name is Connor Smith. And Connor has a pretty good, the set of credentials. Now, it's club hockey at Adrian College, okay? But a lot of club hockey people that come out of the ACHA have played in the FPHL. And if you actually go and you look at the alumni from the ACHA, you see a lot of guys that are playing in the FPHL right now. So this is a guy who comes in with some pretty good creds. In the 4 seasons that he played for Adrian College, 100 goals he scored. So this is a good guy. Now, here's what I like about this guy. Okay, I don't think this guy's going to get pushed around too much either. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. He's got some weight on him. He's got some muscle on him. He's got some height on him. He's not going to be easily pushed around. And if he's got that scoring touch, this could be an interesting pickup for us. Now, of course, he plays 6 games with us. Pretty sure he's not eligible to play in the playoffs. Okay, so that's something to think about here. Connor Smith might help us these last 6 games, but I don't know if he's eligible. I don't think he is eligible to play in the playoffs. Now, that's the other thing. Donald Oliveri needs to play 5 out of the last 6 games to be eligible for the playoffs. If he doesn't play 5 out of the next 6 games and he's not eligible for the playoffs, that hurts the Binghamton Black Bears. So that's something to think about, folks. Really is something to think about. And so I think that's about it. Connor Smith gets signed. Jesse Anderson's back. Cam Arwood is out. Hopefully we have Oliveri and Kyle Powell back this weekend. Should be fun. The Black Bears have some pretty cool promotional games or stuff. Actually, if I go back to their website here, it'll pop back up, and I can show. I can talk about that for just a second here. Of course, I should have written this down, but I didn't. So let me just pull it up here. Go into here. Okay, so on the 31st, which is this Friday, is Sack Out Cancer Night. April 1st is First Responders Night, benefiting the American Heart Association. Always a great game. I believe also on Saturday is the Heart Cup between the Heart Cup, which is pretty cool. It's the firemen and the policemen going against each other. If you're a longtime Binghamton fan, you've seen these games before games near the end of the season, all through the Senators' years. They've been playing this game for a very long time, which is very cool. So $12 first responder tickets. So that's a pretty good deal there and everything. Also, on April 7th is the Hall of Fame night. They haven't announced which guys yet, so I'd really like to know who's going in. 50th anniversary specialty jersey. Also, that's also a specialty jersey for Suck Out Cancer Night as well. And then Fan Appreciation Downtown doubleheader, which is pretty cool because you get to go to the Rumble Ponies and then go to a hockey game. I think it's the only weekend that they can really make that work and everything. So April 15th is the Fan Appreciation plus the Downtown doubleheader. So that's pretty cool. So 4 really cool, neat games coming up for the Black Bears promotions. So, pretty good, 4 good things coming up. Also, I want to just mention that if you want to listen to the Power Play Post Show, but you're stuck listening to it on the computer here and everything because you're clicking on the link or whatever and you're listening that way, you can listen to us other ways. First of all, there's Apple Podcasts. There's Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You can listen to us on Spotify, of course. And also what's really cool is you can listen to us through Amazon. So you can actually go and ask your smart device to play the Power Play Post Show. You can even say, hey, play the most recent episode of the Power Play Post Show on Amazon Music. And guess what? It'll start playing the latest episode. And if you stop this episode and do it now, it'll be this episode. Because this is probably the latest one that's up that you're listening to. So that's pretty cool. So you can listen to us on your smart device. I thought that was pretty neat, setting that up and getting that going, and actually had to run and show my wife that because I thought, because we listen to a lot of stuff on our smart devices. The devices that you can talk to and get them to tell you things. So either way, that's it. I've gone a little long, but there's a lot of stuff to cover. Got a great weekend coming up for the Binghamton Black Bears. 2 great games against Elmira, against Columbus. We're 6 games away from the playoffs, which will start April 21st. So there's a lot of pretty cool things going on. Oh, and if you're listening here at the end of the episode, I am working on my first interview, which should be next week. So stay tuned for that. I hope to make the announcement as soon as I get confirmation. I am working with the appropriate people to get that arranged and everything. So thank you for listening. I'm Bob Howard, and this is the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week from the Box Studios Radio Network to keep up to date with the latest news, scores, and interviews by visiting www.pppshow.net. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.